Marcus stood at his front door, hand trembling on the doorknob, as the words echoed in his mind. My kids are in the car. He'd spent 3 years rebuilding his life after his wife left, pouring everything into raising his 7-year-old daughter Emma alone. Tonight was supposed to be his first real date since the divorce, a chance to feel like himself again, like someone beyond just Emma's dad. But the woman standing on his porch, beautiful and nervous in a blue dress, had just turned his carefully planned evening completely upside down. Through the twilight, he could see 2 small faces pressed against the back window of her sedan, watching. His pulse quickened. Every instinct told him to be cautious, protect the fragile world he'd built for Emma. Yet, something in this woman's eyes, a mixture of desperation and hope, made him pause. In that frozen moment, Marcus had no idea he was about to discover what it truly meant to be a father, and that sometimes the most important decisions we make happen in the span of a single heartbeat. The dating app had seemed like a harmless idea. Marcus's brother Jake had practically forced him to download it after finding him eating microwaved mac and cheese alone for the 3rd night in a row. You're 34, not 84, Jake had said, grabbing the phone from his hand. Emma needs to see her dad happy again. Sarah's profile had been refreshingly honest. She was a nurse at County General, loved old movies, and her smile seemed genuine in a sea of filtered photos. Their messages had flowed naturally over 2 weeks. She made him laugh with stories from the emergency room, and he'd shared the chaos of single parenting, like the time Emma convinced him that brushing teeth was optional because sharks never brushed. Theirs and their teeth were fine. They'd planned everything carefully. Dinner at Angelo's, the Italian place downtown with the checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. Marcus had even bought a new shirt, the first piece of clothing he'd purchased for himself in months that wasn't from the clearance rack at Target. Emma had been excited too, in her own way. Is she pretty, Daddy? She'd asked while he fumbled with his tie that evening. Is she going to be my new mommy? Hey, slow down, kiddo, Marcus had laughed, though the question had hit him harder than he'd expected. It's just dinner. We're just going to talk and eat spaghetti. Can I stay up late? Nice try. Mrs. Chen next door is coming at 7 and bedtime is still bedtime. Now, staring at Sarah on his doorstep at 6:45, Marcus tried to process what was happening. She looked even prettier than her photos, but her mascara was slightly smudged, and her hands clutched her purse like a lifeline. I'm so sorry, Sarah said quickly, words tumbling out. I know this is completely crazy. My babysitter canceled literally 20 minutes ago. Text message. Just can't make it and nothing else. I tried everyone. My mom's in Florida, my sister's working night shift. And I couldn't cancel on you again. I canceled last week because of my shift change, and I thought if I canceled again, you'd think I was flaking. Or not interested, and I really am interested. Marcus, I'm a package deal, and I should have told you sooner. But it never seems like the right time to say, hey, I have 2 kids, and sometimes parenting is chaos and babysitters ghost you. And now I'm rambling, and you probably think I'm insane. Marcus blinked. Throughout her entire monologue, he'd been trying to count the emotions crossing her face. Embarrassment, fear, exhaustion, hope. He recognized all of them. He'd worn them himself more times than he could count. How old? He heard himself ask. What? Your kids. How old are they? Sarah's shoulders dropped slightly, as if she'd been braced for him to close the door in her face. 4 and 6. Lily and Mason. They're good kids, I promise. They've already eaten. They have their tablets. They can just sit in the car. Or I can go, we can reschedule. I completely understand if this is too weird. They can sit in the car? Marcus repeated slowly. While we eat dinner inside? I know it sounds terrible. I didn't know what else to do. I've been looking forward to this all week, and I'm not usually this disorganized. I swear, but being a single parent means sometimes everything falls apart at once, and you're left trying to hold it together with duct tape and hope. Something in Marcus's chest cracked open. He thought about Emma, asleep in her car seat during late night, drives when she was a baby and he couldn't get her to stop crying any other way. He thought about the time he'd brought her to a job interview in her stroller, because daycare called saying she had a fever, and he couldn't afford to miss the opportunity. He thought about every moment of the past. 3 years when the world expected him to be 2 people at once, and he'd felt like he was failing at both. "Sarah," he said quietly, "you can't leave your kids in the car." Her face fell. "Right, of course. I'm sorry I wasted your time. I should go." "Wait." Marcus stepped forward before she could turn away. "I mean, you can't leave them in the car because that's ridiculous. Come inside. All of you." "What?" "Bring your kids inside. Emma's still up for another 15 minutes. She'd probably love to meet them. We'll order pizza instead of going to Angelo's. I made brownies earlier. Terribly, but they're technically edible. It's not the evening either of us planned, but maybe it could still be good." Sarah stared at him like he'd just spoken in a foreign language. "You want me to bring my children into your house on our first date?" "I'm a single dad," Marcus said with a shrug. "If you'd shown up and I told you Emma was here because my babysitter flaked, would you have left?" "No," Sarah admitted. "Of course not. Then why should you have to?" Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "Most guys would have closed the door already. Most guys are idiots," Marcus smiled. "Come on, let me meet the people who are most important in your life." That seems like a pretty good way to start, doesn't it? 20 minutes later, Marcus's living room had transformed into controlled chaos. Emma had immediately taken charge, showing Lily her extensive stuffed animal collection and explaining in great detail which ones had the best personalities. Mason, shy at first, had perked up when he spotted Marcus's collection of Marvel action figures on the bookshelf. "Captain America is the best," Mason declared with the certainty of a 6-year-old who'd found his truth. "Finally, someone with sense," Marcus agreed, pulling down the figure. "Emma thinks Iron Man is better." "Iron Man is better," Emma called from across the room. "He's smarter." "Being smart isn't everything," Mason argued. "Is too." And just like that, they were off, debating with the passionate intensity only children could muster over fictional characters. Sarah stood in the kitchen doorway watching them, and when Marcus glanced over, he saw silent tears streaming down her face. "Hey," he said softly, moving to her side. "You okay?" "I was so scared tonight," she whispered. "I sat in your driveway for 5 minutes trying to decide if I should just drive away. I kept thinking about how many times I've had to choose between being a good mom and being myself, like the two things can't exist together. And then you didn't hesitate. You brought us all inside like it was the most natural thing in the world." "It kind of is," Marcus said. "Look, I don't know where this goes. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere amazing. But I do know that those 3 kids in there laughing, that's real life. That's the good stuff. If we can't figure out how to make this work with them as part of it, then we're building on sand anyway." Sarah wiped her eyes, smiling through tears. "How are you single?" "Because my ex-wife decided she didn't want to be married to a high school teacher who came home smelling like cafeteria food and talked about lesson plans at dinner," Marcus said lightly, though old pain flickered across his face. "She wanted someone more ambitious, someone who could give her a bigger life." "Her loss," Sarah said firmly. "Maybe. Or maybe we just wanted different things, and that's okay." He paused. "What about you? Emma asked if you were going to be her new mommy earlier, and I realized I don't actually know your story." "Divorced 3 years," Sarah said. "He wanted the fun parts of family without the work. The Instagram photos without the 2 a.m. fevers. When Lily was born with health issues, needed surgery, he checked out. Emotionally first, then physically. Signed the papers and moved 2 states away. Sends child support when he remembers to." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off. But it gets lonely, you know, doing it all alone. Every decision, every worry, every bedtime and breakfast and scraped knee. It's a lot." "Yeah," Marcus agreed quietly. "It really is." They stood in comfortable silence watching their children play. Emma was now directing an elaborate scenario where the stuffed animals and action figures had to work together to save the world from an invasion of evil broccoli. Lily was giggling uncontrollably, and Mason was providing sound effects with such enthusiasm that his whole body shook. "They're happy," Sarah observed. "They are," Marcus agreed. "Hungry too, probably. I should order that pizza." Dinner was beautifully chaotic. They spread a blanket on the living room floor and had a picnic because Emma insisted it was more fun that way. The brownies were indeed terrible. Too dense and somehow both burnt and underdone. But the kids ate them anyway. declaring them the best brownies ever because kids were either brutally honest or impossibly kind, with no in-between. After the children had crashed in front of a movie, full and happy, Marcus and Sarah finally sat together on the porch steps, watching fireflies blink in the darkness. "This was the best-worst first date ever," Sarah said, leaning her head on his shoulder with a naturalness that surprised them both. "Yeah?" Marcus smiled. "Yeah. Though I should probably head home soon. It's past everyone's bedtime, including mine. I have a shift at 6. "Okay, but Sarah?" "Next time, no car babysitting, all right? Just be honest with me. About everything. The messy stuff, the hard stuff, all of it. If this is going to work, we have to be real with each other. Next time?" Sarah lifted her head, eyes bright. "If you want there to be one?" "I do. I really, really do." As Sarah gathered her sleepy children and buckled them into car seats, Mason looked up at Marcus with serious eyes. "Are you going to be our dad?" The question hung in the warm night air. Marcus knelt down to Mason's level. "I don't know, buddy. That's a long way off, and it's something we'd all have to figure out together. But I'd like to be your friend. Would that be okay?" Mason considered this with the gravity of someone weighing world peace. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, friends is good. Friends can become family." "Yeah," Marcus said softly, glancing at Sarah. "Sometimes they can." Driving home later, Emma asked the question Marcus had been expecting. "Do you like her, Daddy?" "I do, sweetheart." "And her kids?" "Them too." "Good," Emma said decisively. "Because Lily said I give good advice and Mason thinks our house is cool. I think we should keep them." Marcus laughed, the sound filling the car. "It's not quite that simple, Em." "Why not? If you like someone and they make you smile and they think your burnt brownies are good, that seems pretty simple to me." Out of the mouths of babes, Marcus thought. 3 months later, they were all at the zoo when it happened. Emma had taken Lily's hand to show her the penguins, and Mason was on Marcus's shoulders pointing out every animal with unbridled enthusiasm. Sarah walked beside them, her hand fitting perfectly in Marcus's. "This is nice," she said simply. "Yeah," Marcus agreed. "It really is." "Thank you," Sarah added quietly. "For not closing that door." Marcus squeezed her hand. "Thank you for being brave enough to knock." That evening, when Marcus opened his door, he hadn't known he was opening his heart too. But standing there in the zoo, surrounded by the chaotic, beautiful noise of their blended family, he understood something profound. Sometimes the best things in life don't go according to plan. Sometimes they show up on your doorstep terrified and hoping, with 2 kids in the car and a heart full of courage. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you're brave enough to say yes to the unexpected gift being offered. Love, he'd learned, wasn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances. It was about showing up, being honest, and choosing connection even when it was complicated. It was about recognizing yourself in someone else's struggle and saying, "You don't have to do this alone anymore." Marcus had opened his door that night expecting a date. Instead, he'd found a family. And really, when he thought about it, that was so much better.